Hi, welcome to this brief overview of the Smartboard MX275. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take you over here to the display controls. First of all, you've got the power button. Then next to it we have some volume control, and then we have the home button. This button will probably become your best friend when you use the Smartboard. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. Notice it turns on very quickly. Not a lot of time to wait, watch and wait, I guess, until it turns on. I'm going to go ahead and then take you over to the input controls. This is where you would plug in the touch cable, any other cables that would be used to show what's on your computer or your document camera here up on the Smartboard. This is your home screen, and a screen that you'll become very familiar with when you are using the Smartboard. Notice we have the time and date here. We also have our recently used projects, and then we have our favorites. So these would be things that I use most frequently. One of those will be the whiteboard. If you don't have the whiteboard option here currently, or the first time you log in, if you press player, it brings up the same thing. Now notice I have the whiteboard option right over here. I'm going to go ahead and press on that. And it's going to bring up my whiteboard screen for me. Now, what's nice about these new Smartboards is you can walk up to them and they're basically ready for use. For example, I'm going to choose my background option here on my Smartboard. So I've got the white paper option, black, lined white, lined yellow, primary paper, which I love for the lower elementary grades, dot paper, grid, and a few other background options that you might be able to utilize in your classroom. I'm going to go ahead and change mine back to white. Notice I've just picked up the pen and I'm ready to go. Now, if I want to change the pen color, I can click on the pen right over here, and I'm going to change it to green. And there's my writing in green. When I'm finished, I can simply take a fist and erase what I don't want. Now, the other piece that I think is awesome with this Smartboard is that you can add content pretty much immediately to this whiteboard display whenever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and press the insert content icon over here on the left, and let's just search for constellations. I'm going to go ahead and press search. And notice it'll give me a couple options. I have images and videos. So first let's bring an image over. I'm just going to go ahead and pick this one right over here. Notice it flies over. And I'm going to do a little resizing. So I'm going to minimize this, if you will. And let's make it a little smaller. It's a little too big for my liking. Oh, and I wrote on the board. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this right over here. Still now a little too small. There we go. And now I want to add a video to the board. So I'm going to go right back to the insert content here. Going to press videos. And there's this What Are Constellations video. I think that'll be perfect to start with. So I'm just going to press here. And notice it flies over here as well. Going to move this, and I want to drag this over here. So I want my students to watch this video first, and then I want them to tell me a fact from the video. Okay, now my students are ready for this activity. I'm going to go ahead and play this for them first. So if I hit play, notice it takes over the entire screen. And I can't hear it, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it up.
Welcome back to our universe. Today we'll be answering the question, what are constellations?
And I'm going to go ahead and pause it because maybe it's recess time or lunchtime. And then I'm going to go ahead and X out of this.
And goddesses.
There we go. I had to press play there and then hit the X. Now I'm back to my whiteboard screen and it's ready to move on to step 2 for them. Now let's pretend I want to clear off my board. Notice I've already erased what I had written on the board, but I'm also going to just select this image, the blue drop down button, and then I'm going to press delete. You also have the lock option that I do want to mention. If you lock it, that means you or the students can't move it. If you want it to be moved or deleted, press the blue drop down and we're going to unlock and then delete. Oop, notice I put a few marks over here on the board, so I'm just going to take my fist and erase. To delete the video, the same thing can be done. We're going to press the blue drop down menu and hit delete. Notice there isn't an option to lock the video, just delete it. Okay, my board is clean now. I'm going to hit this downward arrow to kind of readjust the board from where I manipulated it. And now we're going to move on to widgets. Widgets are different resources that you can add to your whiteboard. So for example, I'm going to draw an angle, and I want, I want my students to measure the angle, so I'm going to hit protractor. Notice it just bops right over here. Going to minimize this, and then I'm going to take my protractor and drag it to where my angle is. Notice it's not a very straight line. That was a horrible example. When we measure the angle, I'm going to take my little protractor piece right up here, and it gives us the calculation of a 41-degree angle. And when I'm finished, I can go ahead and delete it and erase my angle. Now, maybe I want to call up students to draw additional angles. We'll pull the protractor out and do it again. That's just one of the resources that you can use in widgets. Now I've pulled up the clock widget. I can go ahead and maybe tell my students to show me 9:20 a.m. So then they can take their little hour finger and move it there and dial this back to the 20. And there we go, 9:20 a.m. This would be good time practice. When I'm finished with it, I can press right there and delete. I'm going to delete my dice that's still here, so I'm just going to kind of tap around the dice, and it's going to bring up the delete option. Then I'll clean up my board, erase the time, and we'll go back to another widget. I also have timer, spinner, we've got ruler, which is kind of cool. I'll show you that real quick. So here's my line that we're going to measure. I am going to drag this right up here, and I want them to actually measure in inches. So this line is 5 inches long. Could have made that more perfect, could I? And then we'll measure in centimeters and drop it down, and it's 13. When I'm finished, press delete. It's gone, clean up my board, and we have a clean whiteboard again. Now, one of the other neat features with the Smartboard is that you also have the option to add graphic organizers and manipulatives. So I'm just going to go ahead and select a graphic organizer that I want to use with my students. And we're just going to talk about snow. We've seen a lot of it. We're ready for it to go. But obviously, I can jot down these ideas with my students here on the board. Now, if I'm ready to move on, I'm done with this, I can hit the plus symbol and select blank page. And now I've got another blank whiteboard to work with. Let's pop back over to the ad. So I have all of these different graphic organizers I can choose from, but I also want to show you manipulatives. So I'm going to list these off. They're kind of hard to read, I'm sure, from the video. We've got coins, calendar, euros, fraction tiles, which I think is awesome, geared clock, hundreds charts, making words, math expressions. You've got a couple of those, music notes, number lines, sorting shapes, and base 10 blocks. So the fraction tile is probably my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, and we're going to drag our one whole piece there. And then we're going to go ahead and show how many fourths it takes to make one whole. So I can drag those over, or I can have my students come and drag them over. And there we have the fraction tile manipulative. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the plus sign. I'm ready to move on. I'm gonna add a blank page. And let's go back and see if there are any other manipulatives we missed. I also, math expressions I thought was really cool. So again, I can give my students numbers. And I want them to insert the symbols where they belong. So I would have my students come up to the board. I'd have them drag and hit the plus symbol and drag the equal sign. So I think that's an awesome way to practice math expressions. Again, I'm gonna hit the plus symbol and I want a blank page, and I'm back to my clean whiteboard. Now at this point I have 7 different whiteboards going on, so I would have cleaned that up a little bit. If I hit that number 7 or whatever number is displayed there, I can clean up my boards just by hitting the 3 horizontal dots and delete page. This is where I can also change the background. Maybe I want this one to be black. Show you what the writing looks like on a black one. I don't want that anymore, so I'm just gonna keep cleaning up. Delete. We're gonna delete this one. Delete my fraction tiles. Delete my graphic organizer, and I'm back to just my one board. Now, I'm done using the whiteboard portion of the smart board, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to share your screen. You can do this with any device, Windows laptop, iPad, Mac, and it's very easy. With the Windows laptops, you will have to run like one quick install just the first time you use it, and then you'll use that program in order to share going forward. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the home button. And it's gonna take me back to my home screen, my dashboard, and then I'm going to go ahead and press screen share. So it says, connect your device to Smartboard. From your device, connect to, and it's got our wireless network here, the name of our Smartboard, and then we also have the IP address option to enter. So I am going to go ahead and show you how easy it is to share my MacBook. So on the MacBook, I will go ahead and just press or click on the AirPlay icon. And I am going to see Smartboard 2021 listed from the drop-down menu. When I click on that I should be airplaying. One more little minor tweak that you'll want to make on the Mac is to click Mirror SA Smartboard 2021 instead of built-in display. And here momentarily, you should see my screen appear. Oh, look up here. It says allow Alyssa Goldsworthy's MacBook Air to share to the screen. I'm going to hit yes. That's a nice little safeguard there in case you have students that are wanting to AirPlay maybe on accident or on purpose. You have to acknowledge whoever shares to the board. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, and it shows my screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and press on that, and now it takes up the entire whiteboard. So as you can see, I have my laptop screen here, and I'm just going to go ahead and navigate on my MacBook. We'll just go to the South Adams website, and we'll bounce around there. And everything that I'm doing on my MacBook, it's doing up here on the whiteboard. So the other option, I'm going to go ahead and hit Stop AirPlay, would be to mirror what's on your iPad to the Smartboard screen. So with the iPad, you'll use AirPlay as well, and I'm going to go ahead and attempt to try and do it while I am recording. So give me just a second here. I'm going to hit the pull down, and I'm going to do screen mirroring, and I'm going to find that Smartboard. It'll probably be at the bottom, SA Smartboard 2021, and we should get a prompt up on the board that asks if my iPad display. What is nice is that on our student iPads, it'll have their name because their iPads are named, so it'll be easy to know who the device is. So I'm going to say yes. And then you should see, oh, there we go. There we go. I've made it take up my entire screen. This is kind of weird to look at. So whatever I'm showing on my iPad is obviously displaying up here. My iPad is recording myself right now, so that's why you see me in a lot of different places. Okay, you're at a bit of a different angle now because it would not let me record and use an app on my iPad. So I'm gonna go back here and control my iPad. Notice I have the home screen up on the whiteboard, and maybe I want to pull up an app for my students.
Hi, I'm Ruby.
I can adjust the sound either on my iPad or the smart board itself. Now, if I touch the board, it's going to try and take a picture of what I'm doing up here. So you have to remember whenever you have your iPad displayed up on your smart board, you have to operate the iPad from the iPad. So I'm going to go back to my iPad, and maybe I want to take my students to select a letter, and we're going to do A. And it's going to show them how to write the letter A. So then, when I'm finished, we're going to pretend we've done that already. I can go ahead and slide down, and I can turn off the smartboard mirroring and select Stop Mirroring. So again, it's important to remember that whenever you have a device mirrored, specifically the iPad and your laptop, it doesn't necessarily let you control those devices from the board until you have the little touch cable plugged in. And that we can use with our laptops, so our MacBooks or our Windows devices. They also have input ports on the back of the board right over here. There's several of them. Obviously, if you plug in the front of the board, it's kind of going to get in the way. In the back, you can run it around the back and then up the side of the room to wherever your desk is. Now, we have the HDMI port and the touch port. Those two items must be plugged into your laptop. And what's nice is when you do that, you can control your laptop from the board. So I could very easily take those two cables, plug them into my laptop, and I would have whatever's on my laptop showing on the screen. I could easily close out of a window, I could pull up a Word document, I can do anything like that. I can control my laptop from the board as long as those two cables are plugged in here. Now, let's say with those cables plugged in, I also have a document camera. It works the same way as it would work in your classroom now. Currently, in your classroom, everything displays to the projector. Now, eliminate the projector, and instead of that, it would display up on the board. So you could use the input button to literally change from your document camera to the board to your laptop, just like you do now in the classroom using that same input button. Super simple. Now, you may notice my picture up here in the top left corner of the screen. If I press that, it obviously gives me the option to sign out. But if I weren't, I'll just go ahead and sign out actually. You'll notice if no one is signed into the board, then it's just a little person picture. But if I press on that, I can sign in to the board. My settings, my boards, things like that will still be there when I log in again. So it saves that profile. Here at South Adams, we would want to click sign in with Google Drive. And then obviously you'll enter your Google username and password. Now, one other thing I want to mention is the apps. If you press on the apps waffle, I guess is what we would call it, you have like a photo gallery, obviously music, browser, links to Google Docs, Excel, Word, PowerPoint. With the browser, it's actually literally a built-in web browser. So maybe I want to go to CNN.com. And I can pull up CNN.com for my students. Maybe I even want to pull up an article for them to read. So we'll do double masking can block 92% of infectious particles. So I'm going to click on that. And I'll have the article pulled up right here on my whiteboard. Now what is nice is that I can take my pen and maybe I want to have our students read it as a class. So double masking can significantly improve protection. New data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows. So maybe I want to underline that statement or circle it, sorry, for my students. Notice you'll see these diagonal lines come through the screen or come across the screen. That means now that we've kind of taken a snapshot and we can annotate all over this. So maybe with this quote here, I want to underline it for my students in yellow because I want them to use that in a presentation or something that they're giving. When I'm finished with this annotation, I can simply hit the X in the top left corner. And yeah, maybe I would like to keep it and I can pull it up later for reference. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save.
Tools to fight.
Oh, we've got a video going now. I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down on the rest of the article.
The pandemic.
Oh,
The
and
steps
CNN
we're
has
all
a video
taking,
playing.
to make sure that
Here we go. I've scrolled down on the rest of the article and now I'm ready to do some circling, some highlighting. We can jot whatever we want on the board as we go through this article with our students. Again, when I'm finished, maybe I want to save it, maybe I want to get rid of it. I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. And if I'm logged in as myself to the board, it'll save those to my profile so I can pull them up later when I'm logged into the board. Now, when I'm finished, I can go ahead and press the home button. That's gonna go away for us. And now, where do those saved pictures or annotations go? They're going to go to Files, and my annotations are right here under Today. Last week, I annotated on a Google Doc. Then I have some of my whiteboards and things that I've had up over the last few days. With the apps on the board, if you press Apps, and some of these actually already come installed on the board, but if I went to press Add, then I have a whole list of Android, Smart Notebook, Microsoft, and Google apps that I can install on the board. So just to mention a few, GeoGebra, Classic, Graphene, we've got Zoom, a Firefox browser, we have Anything Smart, Microsoft Word, Excel, and it's super easy just to add it. You hit the plus symbol. So I'm gonna go ahead and add Google Maps. I don't really need it, but I wanna show you how easy it is to install. So there you go, it's got the green check mark and it's ready to be used with your students. A few other things to mention with the Smartboard, especially with COVID-19, a couple of questions have come up. Can I attach a camera to the Smartboard? What I would recommend at this instance is using a iPad, like you may already have, and then airplaying it right up to the board. So you could very easily, maybe you want to show something that's going on in the back of the room with your students, or you're demonstrating something out in the auto shop. You can have that iPad looking at whatever it is you're doing, and then maybe have this in the shop or in another part of your classroom, airplane whatever's taking place on your iPad camera. So it's popped right up here. You're able to see what's going on. Basically, the example is when you saw like 20 of me up here. That's an exaggeration, not 20. You saw several of me up here. That's an example of how that would work, where I have my camera going on and I'm airplaying it right up here. Another question was Google Meet. Could we put a Google Meet up here? Again, I would airplay it from your iPad or even your teacher laptop up to the board, so that way students could see what's going on, and then maybe having this projected at your students if they're asking questions, or even again at you if you're demonstrating for your students at home. That's always another option. The smart boards that South Adams is looking at purchasing are the 75-inch option. So that measurement would actually go from here to here. I want you to get a good look at the cart, so I'm going to just tilt you down a bit. There are different cart and mounting options available with the smartboard. With the cart, you really wouldn't lose any whiteboard space in your classroom. If it were mounted, obviously it would be mounted on the whiteboard and wouldn't be moved. Heights would be adjustable with the cart, and the cart could move to various locations within your classroom. It wouldn't have to stay in one place all the time. Now, I don't want you to stop watching this video and feel totally discouraged and overwhelmed by what you've seen over the last several minutes. If we were to go this route in the buildings, we would absolutely have the support from the Smart Company as well. We would have trainers that would come in and work with our teachers and staff to become familiar with the board, also the Smart Notebook software, and the tech team is always here to help as well. For those of you who might be interested in using the Smart Notebook software, I'm going to link a few videos at the end of this video that will give you a good overview of what the Smart Notebook software is capable of and things that you could possibly use it for in your classroom. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.